drawing today, but I'm going to draw some trees in my little book. So there are a few things with this drawing that I was trying out, or not trying out, but conceptually making a change in how I work. The first one was how do I put this? Whenever I go out to do a sketch, I always feel like it has to be finished. Like this has to be the completed thing. I have to do a scan of it. I have to put it on my website. I have to do all this other stuff. And then I have to reconceptualize and move on. And the thing about that is in my process, that's not exactly what I do in my process. So in my process, I tend to do the same drawing over and over again. So if I am going to do a portrait, I might do it 2 or 3 times. I actually have done portraits like 15 times because I love for the drawing in a painting to become like choreography. I love for it to be so familiar that, yeah, I can draw your face 5 feet wide. Sure, because I know your face. I know what you've done. And in doing landscapes or these little landscapes, I haven't achieved that yet. So one of the things that I wanted to do was work toward that goal, work toward the part where it feels so familiar that it is like a choreographed dance. So this is the first drawing. And after this drawing, I actually did another one. I did another one. Did I do it? Yeah, I did another one in the sketchbook. I actually did another one on the next page. And then I did a painting of it. So I actually did this drawing a couple of times and I really liked that process. I really liked being able to take my time to explore the composition and to explore the, what actually happens in this one, so that in the end, the painting that I got, I thought it was all right. It was all right. And I was able to just kind of move it forward in a way that felt really familiar. It felt really comfortable to move it forward in that way, even though the discomfort of it was like going and sitting in the sun. I am not a going and sitting in the sun person, In fact, at the end of this, we were going to go to the beach and hang out. You'll see at the end of the video, there's a little segment with the beach, but I had a full tent in the back of my car ready to go to the beach, but it was all foggy. So I did not get to use my full tent. Not a full tent. It had like the big opening. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I think the other thing that I'm doing here is really exploiting my materials. I didn't. When I got out of the car, I really didn't have the intention of sitting down and drawing. I had the intention of just walking around the park to see what I could see. And I found this view that I really liked. So sat down, did the camera, started drawing, and all I had were markers. And I had like colored pencils, and I had the watercolor crayons, and I had, the Neo colors. I had gouache, I had watercolor, I had all this stuff that I could have taken with me, but I chose not to because I wanted to kind of experience the park and see what was there. And so really all I had were the Posca markers, and I had the Faber-Castell dual nib pen watercolor markers, and I loved them. I love those. I love the mixture of the two materials. They really mixed well. And I really liked the saturation that I was able to get because I had primed the paper with watercolor primer, and it's kind of like a gesso for watercolor, basically. And I didn't even know they had it, and I just kind of like, oh, look at this is so cool. And what I like about it, because from one page to the next page, the colors on this page that I'm drawing now look so much more saturated. The colors on the next page, because they're sinking into the paper more, look a little duller. They don't look bad, they just look a little duller with the same amount of treatment. So I'm not necessarily going back over my lines here. I'm not like drawing something and then drawing the same thing over again and drawing the same thing over again to bring saturation to the drawing. I am just kind of doing it once and I'm like, oh cool, I got a blue sky. And then I'm moving on to the next thing. And I really like that. I really like the immediacy of the mark making, that I was able to get with that ground and with the Faber-Castells and with the, I think I had, no, now that I'm looking at this, I actually had 3 different kinds of markers. I had the Faber-Castells, I had the Edding acrylic markers, so those are opaque, and then I had the Posca marker. So 2 acrylic markers and 1 watercolor marker. And that watercolor marker is holding its own, okay? The other thing I had was a lot of wind. It was so windy today, which is why I'm doing a voiceover. It was so windy on that day that everything was drying super fast. Also, I was in the sun, so I probably was baking. And I was really getting a good pace to the day. Like the pace to the drawing was really nice. I think the other thing that I appreciate about being able to do these sketches and to bring them back to the studio is that fundamentally I am a studio painter. So having these thoughts, you know, really helps to come back to the studio and to like do the next thing. And then also, I think one thing I hadn't ever really done in the past was that marriage of you know, like doing a study. Like I've never really done a study for a painting. It's always been just like, we're doing the painting. So that's where everything kind of has to be perfect comes in. And I don't know. I don't know why I was doing it that way. Now I know for a fact that I will be doing more studies. I will be like fleshing things out a little bit better in painting, like doing a little painting and then bringing it to the final product. I'm air quoting final product. I think the other thing about that, doing the little painting and using these materials, is I've kind of literally backed into using acrylic paint, which you can knock me over with a feather with that one, because acrylic paint is kind of like, I would tell you to your face that acrylic paint is horrible before like this week. You know, like I would just tell you no, I would poo-poo it. But yeah, acrylic paint is not bad, and I kind of have backed my way into using it, and so now I actually have an acrylic palette that I'm painting with actively, and I'm going through a process of figuring out how acrylic fits into my practice. And I really like it so far. I really like the immediacy of it. I think that's the thing I like, is the immediacy of it, because with oil, you really have to wait a day. You know, and the thing about waiting a day sometimes is that you wait a day and then the next day that momentum that you had when you were painting the day before is kind of gone. Whereas acrylic, I don't know, in this case, I'm just going one after the other. In the studio, I may need to leave it for 15 minutes so it can dry a little bit, and then I come back and I'm ready to go. So definitely still a learning curve with acrylic, but I kind of enjoy it. And I love a challenge. I love a new technique. I love, you know, learning something new about painting that you can only learn this by being in your practice and by painting every day. It's like that adage of, what is it? Inspiration finds me working, or motivation finds me working, you know. You can't be motivated, or you can be motivated and you can paint when you are motivated, but if you are already working, the motivation and the working will find you on the same day, which is great. So I learned so much by literally just like, all right, let's do this. Let's plot this out, and let's execute, and you know, make it good for ourselves, I guess. Yeah. I think the other thing that I will say before I stop talking a little bit and let the video just play is that the next scene is total fun. My friend Veronica and I went to the beach, and it's just shenanigans. The next scene is literally just shenanigans. There's no like, you know, oh my God, there's no like profound message to it. It's just funny. I hope you enjoy it, because I really did. All right, bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all the things. I will see you next week. Bye, yeah.
There's a technique. You gotta sit into it. Where are them baby rocks? This is a manly rock. It took my skin off.
What happened?
It took my skin
What
off.
happened?
A nice ladylike sized rock.
Redemption. Oh, there she goes!
I
Ma'am?
was walking down the beach and I saw what I thought was a really colorful blue rock. I did not once question whether it was a rock or not, and I and it turned out to be a jellyfish. And now I am never touching a rock on the beach again. Never again.
Can we have a reenactment of the touching?
Traumatized.
Traumatized?
I'm traumatized.
How is the trauma affecting your life choices?
I'll never be able to touch a rock again.
I like this, like, you can see some detail and then it goes into foggy nothingness.
I kind of do love